When the world has silenced its clamor and the shadows lengthen upon the walls of your home, you find yourself face to face with it. The thought that clings. The worry that whispers, relentless, into the ear of your sleeping soul. It is the question that loops without an answer, the knot that resists every effort of your weary fingers. You have tried to outrun it, to reason with it, to bury it beneath the rubble of your daily distractions. Yet, with the dawn of each new day, it is there. Waiting. Breathing. This is the problem that refuses to release its grip on your heart. And you ask yourself, in the silence of your desperate moments, why? Why does this trial cling to me so? Why does the relief I seek remain so stubbornly out of reach? Know this, and let it settle into the marrow of your bones. It is not a punishment. It is a call. It is the persistent knock of the divine upon the door of a heedless heart. For as long as you are at ease with the world, you will not turn to the one who made it. As long as the world gives you what you want, you will not yearn for what he has promised. This relentless problem, this ache that will not subside, is the most merciful, pulling you away from the mirage and toward the ocean of his compassion. He is saying, in a language you cannot ignore, come back. I am here. But you are struggling. You are wrestling with the problem itself, thinking that if you could just solve it, you would finally be free. All the while, the one who holds the cure is waiting for you to stop wrestling with the problem and start wrestling with your own heart. The anxiety you feel is not born from the difficulty of the situation, it is born from the illusion that you are in control of it. You are holding the world in a clenched fist, and so you have no hands left to receive his mercy. You see the problem as a barrier to your happiness, a wall between you and your peace. But what if I told you that the problem is the path? What if this thorn in your side is the very thing that is meant to teach you the secret of true peace? The secret is not in its removal, but in your surrender. The peace you seek is not on the other side of the problem, it is hidden within the problem, waiting for you to stop looking for an escape and start looking for a lesson. Let it hold you, then. Let it press you down until your head touches the ground in prostration. For it is in that lowest position that you are closest to the highest. This problem that won't let you go is a guardian at the gate of your heart. It will not let you enter the kingdom of worldly distraction. It will not allow you to settle for a counterfeit peace. It is here to starve your ego until you are forced to feed your soul. So, tonight, do not ask for the problem to disappear. Ask instead for the strength to carry it with grace. Ask for the wisdom to see the jewel hidden in its shadow. Ask for the heart to say, with full conviction, My Lord, I have tried my own strength and it has failed. I have searched my own mind and it is lost. I am turning to you, not to remove this burden, but to receive the strength to bear it. For it is only by your will that I am free. It is only by your remembrance that the heart finds its rest. It is only with you that this relentless thing becomes my salvation. The first keynote asserts that the persistent problem is not a random misfortune or a cruel twist of fate, but a calibrated trial sent directly by the Creator. This is the foundational truth that reshapes your entire relationship with your difficulty. When you perceive your problem as mere chaos or an accident of the universe, you meet it with confusion, resentment, and a frantic desire to escape. You see yourself as a victim of circumstance, and your heart fills with bitterness toward a world that has seemingly turned against you. But when you understand that this trial has been measured, permitted, and sent with divine precision, your entire experience transforms. The problem ceases to be an enemy and becomes a messenger. It is not a sign of abandonment, but a sign of being seen. The Creator does not test those he has forgotten. He tests those he wishes to elevate. He does not place a burden upon a soul except to reveal the depths of its faith and the sincerity of its trust. This is the mercy hidden within the affliction. The problem is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to expose you, to expose the false certainties you cling to, the fragile dependencies you have built, and the shallow foundations upon which you have constructed your sense of security. You believe you trust God, but the problem arrives to ask, do you truly trust Him when the path is dark? You believe you are patient, but the problem arrives to ask, this is why the problem refuses to let you go. It is persistent because your lesson is not yet learned. It is relentless because your heart has not yet arrived at the station of surrender. The Creator knows what you do not know. He sees the attachments that you have normalized, the dependencies you have mistaken for strength, and the illusions you have mistaken for truth. The problem is His gentle but firm hand, steering you away from the cliffs of heedlessness. It is a mercy wrapped in difficulty, a gift concealed within discomfort. The soul that is never tested never grows. The faith that is never challenged never deepens. The trust that is never tried never becomes unshakable. So the trial stays. It presses upon you daily, not because God is angry, but because He is patient. He waits for you to turn. He waits for you to stop seeking solutions from the world and start seeking Him. He waits for you to exhaust your own strategies and finally raise your hands in surrender. The problem is the divine alarm clock, ringing relentlessly because you keep hitting snooze. It is the persistent caller at the door of your heart, knocking again and again because you have not yet opened. And when you finally open, when you finally see the trial for what it truly is, a loving invitation to draw nearer, you will realize that the problem was never the obstacle to your peace. It was the very path to it. The peace you seek has always been on the other side of this understanding. The problem that haunts you is not a punishment from an angry Lord. It is a rope thrown to you by a merciful one, pulling you out of the drowning waters of the world. Hold on to it. Let it pull you closer. For the trial that will not release you is the very hand of God, refusing to let you go. The second keynote strikes at the very heart of your anguish, for it reveals that the source of your sleepless nights and restless days is not the problem itself, but your desperate, exhausting struggle to control it. You have convinced yourself that freedom lies on the other side of a solution, that peace will finally arrive when you have successfully manipulated every variable and forced the outcome to align with your wishes. This is the great deception that keeps you chained. You pour your energy into analyzing, planning, worrying, and strategizing, believing that if you just think hard enough or work long enough, you will find the key that unlocks your cage. But the cage is not the problem. The cage is your illusion of control. You are like a bird beating its wings against the bars of its prison, exhausting itself in the futile attempt to break free, when all the while the door has been opened from the beginning. The door is surrender. The door is releasing your grip on the outcome and placing it into the hands of the one who holds the heavens and the earth. But you refuse to walk through that door because walking through it requires you to admit that you are not in charge. It requires you to confess that all your planning, all your calculation, all your sleepless nights have produced nothing but anxiety. This admission feels like defeat to your ego, so you continue to fight, continue to wrestle, continue to exhaust yourself against the bars of your own making. The obsession with solving the problem on your own terms is the very thing that perpetuates your suffering. Every moment you spend trying to force a solution is a moment you are not spending in trust. Every plan you devise is a plan you are placing above His plan. And His plan, you must remember, is always greater. His plan is always wiser. His plan is always more merciful than anything your limited mind could conceive. But you cannot see this while your fists are clenched around the reins of your life. You cannot receive His guidance while you are insisting on your own direction. The anxiety you feel is the natural consequence of carrying a burden that was never meant for your shoulders. You were never created to bear the weight of the future. You were created to bear the weight of the present moment, and to do so with trust in the one who holds the future. When you try to control the outcome, you step outside of your human limitations and attempt to occupy the space that belongs only to the divine. This is the origin of your unrest. You are performing a role for which you were never equipped, and the exhaustion you feel is the merciful exhaustion of a body and soul that were never designed for such a task. The problem that won't let you go is not the problem itself. It is your refusal to let go of the problem. You are holding it so tightly that your fingers have cramped, and yet you continue to hold on, believing that if you release it, it will fall and shatter. But the truth is that it will only shatter if you drop it. If you release it into the hands of God, He will catch it. He will hold it. He will carry it. He will transform it. The problem is not too heavy for Him. It is only too heavy for you. And the moment you stop trying to solve it, the moment you stop wrestling with it and start surrendering to the one who ordained it, the anxiety begins to dissolve. Not because the situation changes, but because your relationship to the situation changes. You are no longer the struggling captain of a sinking ship. You are a passenger, and the captain knows the way through the storm. This is the liberation you have been seeking. It is not liberation from the problem. It is liberation from the exhausting illusion that you were ever in control. The third keynote pierces deeper into the heart of your struggle, for it reveals that the problem which torments you is not an external enemy to be defeated, but an internal mirror to be examined. You have spent countless hours looking outward, scanning the horizon for the source of your distress, analyzing circumstances, blaming people, and cursing fate. You have convinced yourself that if only the world would rearrange itself according to your wishes, your heart would finally find its rest. But the problem persists because it is reflecting something back to you that you have refused to see. It is a mirror held before your soul, showing you the attachments that have taken root in your heart, the dependencies that have become your idols, and the loves that have eclipsed the love that should reign supreme. You see the problem as an obstacle to your happiness, but in truth, the problem is revealing where you have placed your happiness. The anxiety you feel is not born from the difficulty of the situation alone. It is born from the threat that the situation poses to something you have attached yourself to. If you are anxious about your wealth, it is because your heart is attached to wealth. If you are anxious about your health, it is because your heart is attached to this temporary body. If you are anxious about a relationship, it is because your heart has placed its trust in another human being. The problem that won't let you go is simply exposing the altars upon which you have been worshipping, and it will not release you until you recognize that you have been bowing to the wrong gods. This is the mercy of the persistent trial. It is a relentless exposure of your inner world, a forced confrontation with the realities you have hidden beneath the busyness of your days. You believe you love God, but the problem asks you, do you love Him more than the comfort you are losing? You believe you trust God, but the problem asks you, do you trust Him more than the security that is slipping away? The problem will not let you go because your heart has not yet been purified of its attachments to the world. It clings to you because you cling to the world, and the two cannot coexist peacefully. The world promises stability, but it offers only uncertainty. The world promises satisfaction, but it offers only hunger. And yet you continue to chase it, continue to grasp it, continue to build your identity upon it. The problem is the loving hand of God, gently but firmly pulling your fingers away from the objects of your attachment. It hurts because the attachment is real. It hurts because the separation is painful. But the pain is not the punishment. The pain is the process of detachment, the slow and necessary peeling away of the world from the walls of your heart. The problem will stay with you as long as your heart remains entangled in the world. It will press upon you, day and night, until the attachments loosen and fall away. And when they fall away, you will look back and realize that the problem was never your enemy. It was your healer. It was the surgeon's knife, cutting away the diseased tissue so that the healthy heart could finally breathe. The problem haunts you only as long as your heart is chained to the world, because the world is a prison, and the problem is the key that is trying to open the door. You are afraid of the door opening, afraid of the freedom that awaits you, because you have grown comfortable in your chains. But the discomfort you feel is the discomfort of the prisoner who knows he was made for something greater. The problem will not release you until you are released from the world, and you will not be released from the world until your heart finally stops searching for its home in the dust and starts yearning for its home in the heavens. The fourth keynote marks the great turning point, the pivotal moment where your entire relationship with the problem shifts from frantic struggle to profound surrender. You have been exhausting yourself in the search for an external solution, believing that relief lies somewhere out there in the world, in a change of circumstances, in the removal of the obstacle, in the arrival of a different outcome. You have been scanning the horizon for rescue, your eyes fixed on the distant hope that the problem will simply vanish and leave you in peace. But the peace you seek is not found in the disappearance of the difficulty. It is found in the disappearance of your resistance to the difficulty. The solution you have been chasing is not an event that will happen to you. It is a state of being that must happen within you. The shift from struggle to surrender is not a defeat. It is the greatest victory you will ever know, because it is the victory over your own ego, your own illusions, your own desperate need to control. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is giving over. It is the active, conscious, and courageous decision to hand the burden to the one who is infinitely more capable of carrying it. You have been trying to carry the weight of the universe on your shoulders, and your spine is bending, your knees are buckling, your breath is shallow. Surrender is the moment you finally admit that you were never meant to carry this weight, and you lay it down at the feet of the one who carries the heavens without strain. This shift is internal before it is external. It begins in the quiet chamber of your heart, in the secret conversation between you and your Creator. It is the moment you stop praying for the problem to be removed and start praying for the strength to endure it with grace. It is the moment you stop asking, when will this end, and start asking, what am I meant to learn? It is the moment you stop measuring your faith by the absence of trials and start measuring it by the presence of trust in the midst of trials. The peace you have been seeking is not on the other side of the solution. It is hidden within the very act of surrendering. When you cease your frantic efforts to solve the unsolvable, when you stop your endless mental gymnastics and your exhausting emotional turmoil, something miraculous begins to happen. The anxiety that has been feeding on your resistance begins to starve. The worry that has been thriving on your attachment to a specific outcome begins to wither. You are no longer fighting against the current of divine will. You are flowing with it. You are no longer demanding that life conform to your expectations. You are accepting that the divine plan is infinitely wiser than your limited perspective. This is the essence of Tawakkul, the pure and unshakable reliance upon God. It is not passivity. It is not laziness. It is not a resignation to fate that breeds apathy. It is the highest form of action, the action of the heart that has understood its true position in the universe. It is the action of placing your trust in the one who has never failed a single soul who turned to him in sincerity. The shift from struggle to surrender is the shift from the exhausting illusion that you are the author of your life to the liberating truth that you are simply a character in a story written by the most wise. You do not need to know the ending. You only need to trust the author. And in that trust, in that complete and total surrender of your will to his will, you will find a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that does not depend on the absence of problems but on the presence of faith. The problem remains, but it no longer rules you. It is there, but it no longer defines you. You have stepped into a new relationship with it, and that relationship is peace. The fifth keynote is the most profound and counterintuitive revelation of all, for it dares to suggest that the problem which torments you, the very thing you have been praying to be rid of, is actually a disguised mercy, a jewel wrapped in shadow, a gift concealed within the folds of difficulty. You have been looking at this trial through the narrow lens of your immediate discomfort, seeing only the pain, the frustration, the sleepless nights, and the endless tears. You have been begging God to remove it, believing that its presence is a sign of his displeasure or your own failure. But what if the opposite is true? What if this relentless caller, this persistent knock at the door of your heart, is actually the most compassionate thing that has ever happened to you? What if the problem that won't let you go is the very thing that is saving you from a fate far worse than any earthly difficulty? The world is a noisy place, filled with distractions that pull you in 1,000 directions, each one promising fulfillment and delivering only emptiness. You are surrounded by illusions that masquerade as meaning, by pursuits that appear noble but lead only to exhaustion. Your heart is constantly being seduced by the glitter of the temporary, and you are slowly, imperceptibly, drifting away from the source of all goodness. This is the greatest danger you face, far greater than any financial loss, any health crisis, or any relationship breakdown. The danger is that you will become so comfortable in the world that you forget your true home. The danger is that you will be so entertained by the distractions of this life that you neglect the life that is eternal. And so the most merciful, in his infinite compassion, sends you a trial that will not let you go. He sends you a problem that refuses to be solved by any worldly means, a difficulty that persists despite all your efforts, an ache that will not be soothed by any distraction you can find. This problem is not a punishment. It is a rescue mission. Consider the relentless nature of this trial. It follows you into your quiet moments. It wakes you in the middle of the night. It intrudes upon your moments of supposed happiness. It refuses to be silenced by entertainment, by consumption, by the busyness of life. Why is it so persistent? Because the mercy behind it is so great. The problem is a guardian at the gate of your heart, preventing you from entering the kingdom of heedlessness. It will not let you settle for a counterfeit peace. It will not allow you to be lulled into complacency by the false comforts of the world. It is here to starve your ego until you are forced to feed your soul. It is here to silence the noise of your life until you can finally hear the whisper of the divine. Every moment you spend trying to escape this problem is a moment you are running away from the very mercy that is trying to save you. The problem is not the obstacle to your spiritual growth. It is the catalyst for it. It is the fire that burns away the impurities of your heart, the storm that clears the air of your confusion, the darkness that makes you finally yearn for the light. You have been praying for relief, but perhaps you should be praying for gratitude. Gratitude that God loves you enough to disturb your comfort. Gratitude that he has not left you to drown in the shallow waters of worldly satisfaction. Gratitude that he has given you a thorn that keeps you awake, a weight that keeps you humble, a trial that keeps you turning back to him. The jewel hidden in the shadow of this problem is your own salvation. It is the preservation of your faith. It is the awakening of your soul. It is the door that leads to the garden of divine intimacy. The problem that won't let you go is the hand of God, refusing to let you go, pulling you away from the fire and toward the mercy, away from the noise and toward the silence, away from the world and toward the beloved. And when you finally understand this, you will stop asking for the problem to be removed and start thanking God for the gift of its presence. You will see the jewel in the shadow, and you will hold it close to your heart, knowing that it is the most precious thing you have ever been given, the relentless caller that led you home.